I couldn't stop my hands from shaking. The paper in front of me became blurry as I read the same line again and again. Transfer of property. $847,000. My house. The house Patricia and I had built together 42 years ago. Gone. Sold without me knowing. Without me signing my name. I looked up at my daughter-in-law, Victoria, standing in the doorway of what used to be my living room. Her arms were crossed, her face completely calm. "You signed it, Richard," she said. "6 months ago, remember? You were having one of your foggy times." I wasn't having foggy times. I was 69 years old. My mind was as sharp as it had ever been. I'd been a person who designs bridges for 43 years. I designed bridges that could hold thousands of tons. My mind didn't just forget things. But as I sat there in that house in Kelowna, British Columbia, looking at papers I didn't remember signing, I started to wonder if maybe Victoria was right. Maybe I was losing my memory. Let me go back to the beginning, because that's where the lies started. I just didn't know it yet. My wife Patricia died 3 years ago. Cancer in her ovaries. It took her in 6 months. And when she died, she took half of me with her. We didn't have children of our own. Patricia couldn't have babies, and we'd accepted that a long time ago. But we had my brother Thomas's son, Christopher. Chris. I'd been more of a father to him than Thomas ever was, especially after Thomas left when Chris was 12. Chris grew up visiting us every summer, every Christmas. When he finished college with his engineering degree, I was the one sitting in the front row. When he married Victoria 8 years ago, I walked alongside him because Thomas didn't bother showing up. I loved that boy like he was mine. So when Chris called me 2 years ago asking if I'd think about moving in with him and Victoria in Kelowna, I said yes. I was lonely in our house in Victoria. Every room reminded me of Patricia. Every photograph, every piece of furniture. Chris said they had plenty of space, that their 2 kids, Emma, who was 10, and Jack, who was 7, would love having their great-uncle around. "You practically raised me, Uncle Richard," Chris said on the phone. "Let me take care of you now." I sold my house in Victoria, got a fair price, $520,000, added to my pension and Patricia's life insurance money. I was comfortable and secure. I moved to Kelowna in January, right after the New Year. The first 6 months were good, better than good. Emma and Jack were wonderful kids. Emma loved math, and I'd spend hours with her working through problems, showing her the same tricks I used to use at my job. Jack was quieter and loved drawing. He'd draw buildings and bridges, and I'd explain to him how weight spreading worked, why arches were strong, why triangles mattered. Victoria seemed nice enough at first, polite. She'd worked in real estate before, having the kids, but she'd stayed home since Jack was born. She kept a clean house and cooked good meals. Chris worked long hours at an engineering company in town, so I saw more of Victoria than I did of him. It started small. Little comments. "Richard, you already told Jack that story about the Lionsgate Bridge yesterday, remember?" I didn't remember telling it yesterday, but maybe I had. I was getting older. "Richard, did you take your pills this morning? I found them still in the container." I was sure I'd taken them, but the container said I hadn't. "Richard, you left the stove on again, 3rd time this week. I'm worried about the kids' safety." I didn't remember using the stove, but Victoria showed me the burner still warm. After 3 months of this, I started keeping a journal, writing down everything I did, everything I ate, every conversation. I needed to know if I was really losing my mind or if something else was happening. That's when I noticed the coffee. Every morning, Victoria made me coffee. French press, 2 sugars, splash of cream, just how I liked it. She'd bring it to me with a smile, and I'd drink it while reading the newspaper. But I started noticing that about 20 minutes after the coffee, I'd feel fuzzy and tired. My thoughts would slow down. I'd have trouble remembering what I just read. One morning, I didn't drink the coffee. I poured it into the plant beside my chair when Victoria wasn't looking. And you know what? I felt fine all day. Sharp, clear. I tested it 3 more times over the next week. Every time I drank the coffee, I'd get foggy. Every time I didn't, I was fine. Someone was drugging me. I didn't want to believe it was Victoria, but who else could put something in my coffee every single morning? I started being more careful. I'd pretend to drink the coffee, but pour it out. I paid closer attention to everything Victoria said and did. And that's when I saw the pattern. She'd move my things, my wallet, my reading glasses, my keys, and then ask me if I remembered where I put them. She'd have conversations with me that I had no memory of, but she'd say they happened. She'd tell Chris I'd done things, left the oven on, forgotten to lock the door, got confused about what day it was, that I absolutely hadn't done. She was building a case, making everyone believe I couldn't think clearly. But why? I found out on a Tuesday in July. I was looking for my property tax papers. I'd always kept careful records, and Chris had said I could keep them in a filing cabinet in his home office. I went in when he was at work, and Victoria was at the grocery store with the kids. The filing cabinet wasn't locked, and in the second drawer, under a folder labeled Household, I found documents with my name on them. Power of attorney signed 6 months ago, giving Victoria control over my money. A living will signed 4 months ago, saying I was thinking clearly but wanted Victoria to make medical decisions if I became unable to. And the property transfer, my house in Victoria, the one I'd sold for $520,000. The money had been moved into an account, not mine, an account in Victoria's name. There were bank statements, my pension payments going into that same account. Patricia's life insurance money, $180,000, also in Victoria's account. All told, she'd taken $847,000 from me. And the signatures on all these documents? They looked like mine, but I'd never signed them. I took photos of everything with my phone. My hands were shaking so badly I had to take some of the photos twice. Then I heard the garage door. I shoved everything back, closed the filing cabinet, and walked out of the office as calmly as I could. Victoria was coming through the door with grocery bags, Emma and Jack behind her. "Richard," she smiled at me. "You're up. I thought you'd be napping." "Just reading," I said. "Did you have your coffee this morning?" "Every drop." Her smile got wider. That night, Chris came home late. I waited until the kids were in bed, then asked if I could talk to him and Victoria together. "Of course, Uncle Richard," Chris said. He looked tired. He always looked tired lately. We sat in the living room. Victoria sat on the arm of Chris's chair, her hand on his shoulder. "I found some documents today," I said, "in the filing cabinet." Victoria's face didn't change. "Oh?" "Documents with my name on them. Power of attorney, property transfers, bank statements." Chris frowned. "Uncle Richard, we talked about this, remember? 6 months ago, you asked us to help manage your money. You said it was getting too hard." "I never said that." "You did," Victoria said softly. "You were having a hard time, Richard, forgetting things. You were worried about making mistakes with your money." "I want to see my bank statements, my actual accounts." Chris and Victoria looked at each other. "Uncle Richard," Chris said carefully, "you don't have separate accounts anymore. We put everything together to make it easier. You signed the papers." "I didn't sign anything." "You did," Victoria said. She stood up, left the room, came back with a folder. She pulled out the documents I'd photographed earlier. "See? Your signature, your initials on every page." I looked at the signatures. They did look like mine, but I'd never... "I think you're confused," Victoria said gently. "This happens sometimes with people your age. Stress, sadness, changes in your daily life, it affects memory. I'm not confused." "Uncle Richard," Chris said, and his voice was so kind, so worried, it made me want to scream. "Maybe we should make an appointment with your doctor, just to check in, make sure everything's okay." "I don't need a doctor. I need to know where my money is."
It's safe, Victoria said. We're taking care of it for you. That's what you asked us to do. I want it back. Silence. Then Chris
Said, Uncle Richard, I think you should get some rest. We can talk about this tomorrow when you're feeling calmer. I'm calm. I want my money back. Victoria's face finally changed. Just for a second. Her eyes went cold, flat. Then the warmth came back like she'd flipped a switch. Maybe Richard needs some time alone, she said to Chris. This must be very hard for him. I went to my room, lay on my bed, and thought about what to do. I couldn't call the police. What would I say? My nephew's wife faked my signature and stole my money, but she has documents that look real? They'd take one look at me, a confused old man who couldn't keep his story straight, and dismiss it. I needed proof, real proof. Over the next 2 weeks, I played along. I drank the coffee Victoria gave me, but I developed a trick. I'd hold it in my mouth, excuse myself to the bathroom, and spit it out. Then I'd act groggy for a few hours so she'd think it was working. And I watched her. She was careful, very careful. But I caught small things. I saw her practice my signature on a notepad, then burn the paper in the fireplace. I heard her on the phone with someone talking about managing the asset and speeding up the timeline. Then on a Thursday afternoon when Chris was at work and the kids were at summer camp, Victoria came to my room. Richard, we need to talk. I sat up. About what? Chris and I have been discussing your situation. We think it's time you moved into a care home. My blood went cold. What? You're not safe here anymore. The confusion, the memory problems. This morning you left the stove on again. I hadn't been anywhere near the stove. And yesterday you got lost walking to the mailbox. Mrs. Chen next door had to bring you home. That was a lie. I'd never gone to the mailbox yesterday. We found a very nice place in Vernon. They take care of people with memory problems. We can move you in next week. I'm not going anywhere. Richard, it's not safe. I know what you're doing. She stopped. What? I know about the money, the fake signatures, the drugs in my coffee. For a long moment, Victoria just looked at me. Then she smiled. Who's going to believe you? She said. A confused old man who can't remember what day it is, who leaves stoves on and gets lost walking to the mailbox? I have proof, Richard. Months of it. Videos of you looking confused. Things Chris has said about your behavior. Even the kids have noticed you're not yourself. You've been drugging me. Prove it. She leaned against the doorframe. You know what's going to happen. You're going to go to that care home, and Chris and I are going to keep managing your money because you're clearly too confused to do it yourself. And when you die, which at your age could be any time, everything will go to Chris, as it should. He's family. You're just the uncle who never had kids. Of his own. She turned to leave, then stopped. Oh, and Richard, if you try to tell Chris any of this, I'll make sure he knows you're having paranoid thoughts. It's a symptom, you know, of memory loss. I've already mentioned it to his doctor friend. She left. I sat there for 10 minutes trying to breathe normally. Then I packed a bag. I waited until midnight. The house was quiet. I took my phone, my wallet, the photos I'd taken of the documents, and the journal I'd been keeping. I walked out the front door as quietly as I could. It was mid-August, but Columbia nights can get cool. I had a light jacket. I started walking. I didn't have a plan. I just knew I couldn't stay in that house. I walked for hours. Downtown Kelowna was quiet at 2 in the morning. I found a bench near City Park, sat down, and tried to think. I must have fallen asleep because the next thing I knew, someone was shaking my shoulder. Sir? Sir, are you all right? I blinked awake. A police officer was standing over me. Young guy, maybe 30. His name tag said Chen. I'm fine, I said. It's 4 in the morning. Are you sure you're okay? Do you have somewhere to go? I almost said yes, almost lied, but I was so tired. No, I said, I don't. Officer Chen sat down on the bench beside me. Want to tell me what's going on? And I did. I told him everything about Victoria, the money, The drugs, the fake documents. I showed him the photos on my phone, showed him my journal. He listened without interrupting. When I finished, he said, "That's quite a story." "I know how it sounds." "Actually," he said, "it sounds like elder abuse, money stealing, and possibly fake signatures." I looked at him. "You believe me?" "My grandmother went through something similar. Different situation, but the pattern's the same. Being cut off from people, being made to feel crazy, someone controlling the money." He stood up. "Let's get you somewhere warm, and then I'm going to make some calls." Officer Chen took me to the police station, got me coffee, real coffee, no drugs, and a blanket. Then he called someone he knew who investigates fraud. By 8 in the morning, I was talking to Detective Sarah Morrison. She was in her 50s, gray hair pulled back, sharp eyes. She listened to my story, looked at my photos, and read sections of my journal. "Mr. Pearson," she said, "I'm going to be honest with you. This is going to be hard to prove. The signatures look real. The documents are properly stamped by a notary. And if Mrs. Holloway has been building a case that you can't think clearly, it's going to be your word against hers." My heart sank. "However," Detective Morrison continued, "you mentioned she's been drugging your coffee. If that's true, we can test for it. Are you willing to give a blood sample right now?" "Right now?" They took me to Kelowna General Hospital. A nurse drew 4 tubes of blood. Detective Morrison said they'd rush the drug test.
"In the meantime," she said, "do you have somewhere safe to stay?" I didn't. Officer Chen spoke up. "My parents run a small bed and breakfast on the north end of town. I'll call them." And that's how I ended up staying with Henry and Linda Chen, Officer Chen's parents. They were in their 60s, kind people who didn't ask too many questions. They gave me a room, fed me proper meals, and didn't judge me for being a confused old man who'd let his family steal from him. The blood test results came back in 3 days. Lorazepam, a medicine used for anxiety, but in my system at levels that would cause sleepiness, confusion, and memory problems. Someone had been drugging me, and I had proof. Detective Morrison moved fast after that. She got permission from a judge to look at Victoria's phone records, bank records, and the documents I'd photographed. She talked to the notary who'd supposedly signed me. The notary had never met me. Victoria had brought the documents in, said I'd sign them at home but couldn't come in person because of health problems. She'd paid him $200 cash to stamp them without checking if it was really me. That was fraud. The bank records showed Victoria had been moving money from my account, the one she controlled, into her personal account. Small amounts at first, $500 here, $1,000 there. Then larger, $10,000, $25,000. Over 2 years, she'd moved $340,000 into accounts Chris knew nothing about. She'd been stealing from me and planning to leave Chris, too. Detective Morrison arrested Victoria on a Wednesday morning. Chris called me that afternoon. I'd never heard him sound like that before. Broken. "Uncle Richard, I didn't know. I swear to God, I didn't know." "I know, Chris. She told me you were getting confused. She showed me videos of you looking lost, forgetting things. I thought I was helping. I thought—" "You were trying to help. She fooled both of us. I'm so sorry." "Come see me," I said. "Bring the kids." He did. That evening, Chris and Emma and Jack came to the bed and breakfast. Emma hugged me so tight I could barely breathe. "Grandpa Richard," she said. She'd started calling me Grandpa about a year ago. "Mom said you were sick. She said you didn't want to see us." "I always want to see you." "I knew something was wrong," Emma said. "You wouldn't just leave without saying goodbye." Smart kid. Over the next few months, everything fell apart. The police investigation uncovered years of fraud. The signatures were faked. A handwriting expert confirmed it. The notary lost his license. And Victoria was charged with fraud over $5,000, forgery, theft, and elder abuse. In British Columbia, elder abuse carries serious punishments. Her lawyer tried to make a deal, but the government lawyers weren't interested. The trial was in November. I had to speak in court. So did Chris, though it hurt him deeply. So did the notary, the handwriting expert, and the drug expert who looked at my blood. Victoria's defense was that I'd willingly given her access to my money, that I'd been confused and now regretted it. But the evidence was too strong. The drugs in my system, the fake signatures, the secret bank accounts. The jury talked for 6 hours. Guilty on all counts. The judge sentenced her to 8 years in prison, ordered her to pay back every cent she'd taken, plus extra money for damages, took away her parent rights until she completed her sentence and saw a psychologist, and more. Chris was heartbroken, but he was also angry at Victoria, at himself for not seeing it sooner. "I should have known," he said to me after the sentencing. "You raised me. I should have trusted you." "She was very good at what she did," I said. "She fooled both of us." "What happens now?" "Now we rebuilt." And we did. I moved back in with Chris and the kids, not because I needed care, but because they needed me. Chris was drowning, working full-time, taking care of 2 kids alone, dealing with the hurt of his wife's lies. Emma was struggling in school. Jack had bad dreams. So I stepped in. I helped with homework, made dinners, drove the kids to soccer and art class, sat with Jack when he woke up crying, and helped Emma work through her anger at her mother. And slowly we healed. 2 years later, I started the Pearson Foundation for Elder Rights. I used some of the money Victoria had stolen, once it was recovered and returned to me, to fund it. The foundation gives free legal help to seniors dealing with money stealing. We help them recognize the warning signs. We connect them with lawyers, social workers, and police. We've helped 43 people so far. Emma volunteers with me now. She's 14, and she's already talking about becoming a lawyer. "So I can protect people," she says, "like you protected us." Chris is doing better. He's in therapy, working through the betrayal. He's even started dating again. Carefully. A woman from his gym, Sarah. She's kind to the kids and respectful to me. We'll see where it goes. As for me, I'm 73 now. Still sharp, still keeping a journal, though now it's more for memories than protection. Still helping Emma with her math. And every morning, I make my own coffee. I want to leave you with something important, something I learned through all this, because what happened to me happens to thousands of seniors every year. Money stealing from elderly people is one of the fastest growing crimes in Canada. Here's what you need to know. First, never sign over complete power of attorney without protection. If you're going to give someone control over your money, have a second person, a lawyer, an accountant, a trusted friend, check everything regularly. Don't let one person have total power over your money. Second, keep your own records, your own bank statements, your own copies of documents. Even if someone else is helping manage your money, you should always be able to see the information. Third, trust your gut. Feelings. If something feels wrong, if you're suddenly confused when you weren't before, if money is disappearing, if someone is keeping you away from friends and family, speak up. Tell someone outside the situation, a doctor, a neighbor, the police. Don't assume you're just getting old or being paranoid. Fourth, know the signs of being drugged. Sudden sleepiness after eating or drinking something someone gives you, memory problems that come and go, feeling foggy at specific times of day. If this is happening, see a doctor and ask for a drug test. Fifth, write down everything. I kept a journal and it saved me. Write down conversations, take photos, save emails and texts. If you ever need to prove what's happening, you'll have evidence. And finally, remember this. Asking for help isn't being weak. Being taken advantage of doesn't make you stupid. It makes you human. The people who commit elder abuse are skilled at tricking people. They're often family members we trust. They know exactly how to use that trust against us. But you can fight back. You can protect yourself. And if something's already happened, you can recover. I did. If you're experiencing money abuse, contact the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre at 1-888-495-8501. If you're in immediate danger, call 911. And remember, you're not alone. Your age is not a weakness. Your trust is not foolishness. And your life, your money, your dignity,
They all belong to you. Don't let anyone take that away.